With only a few months remaining on his contract with Barcelona, Robert Lewandowski has begun, with increasing awareness, to look toward a future beyond the pitch. Not as someone about to say goodbye, but as an experienced player who understands that a career is finite and that off-field planning is becoming as vital as on-field performance. In a recent interview with the British podcast High Performance, the Polish striker spoke openly about retirement, mental preparation, and how his relationship with football has evolved over the years. This discourse, in itself, says a lot about the stage Lewandowski is currently at with Barcelona. Lewandowski made it clear that he does not fear the end of his career. On the contrary, he says this process has already begun internally. There is an evident maturity in his words, a much broader vision than that of a player obsessed solely with goals and trophies. He stated that he has been preparing and planning for life after football, acknowledging something many athletes realize too late. Football is a massive part of his life, but it is not everything. This shift in mindset doesn't signify a lack of interest or complacency, but rather awareness. This is a crucial point, as fans often misinterpret this kind of talk. Despite reflecting on his post-career life, Lewandowski clarified that there is no set date to hang up his boots. He doesn't speak in terms of months or a specific season. Instead, he speaks of listening to his body and sensing when something truly changes. It is a lucid perspective, typical of a player who has won everything possible but still feels competitive. And looking at his performance in recent La Liga matches, that competitiveness is still very much there. Efficiency over explosion. Despite occasional criticism throughout the season, Lewandowski remains one of Barcelona's most decisive players in the Spanish league. In recent matches, he continues to rank among the top players for shots per game, maintaining a constant presence in the opposition box and contributing directly to goals, either by scoring or by drawing defenders to open up space. Even when he doesn't find the net, his tactical influence remains evident. He continues to be the team's primary offensive focal point, the player who pins back center backs, provides depth to the attack, and allows midfielders and wingers to operate with more freedom. It is true that Lewandowski no longer possesses the same physical explosiveness of a few years ago, which is entirely natural. In exchange, however, his reading of the game has evolved even further. He positions himself better, chooses the right moments to attack space, and understands when to drop out of the box to help build the play. Statistically, this is reflected not just in goals, but in his overall involvement in the attacking phase. Recent data shows a striker who shoots less out of anxiety and more out of clear opportunity, someone who selects his actions better and maintains high efficiency. Impact beyond the goal. When Lewandowski says that as a young man he thought only of football, and now sees his career differently, it doesn't mean a loss of sporting ambition. It means control. It means knowing how to pace himself. Perhaps this is exactly the type of player Barcelona needs during this rebuilding phase, someone who plays not just on impulse, but through a deep understanding of the game. Someone who, even during a club transition, provides emotional stability on the pitch. Lewandowski's contract with Barcelona runs until June 30th, with a clause allowing for a one-season extension. This sparks a debate that goes far beyond age. The question shouldn't just be how old is he, but rather, what impact does he still generate? Looking at recent La Liga data, the answer is clear. He still delivers. Perhaps not at the frantic pace of previous eras, but he delivers with intelligence, experience, and efficiency. Another heavyweight factor is the collective context. Barcelona is still a team in the making, with many young players shouldering immense responsibilities. Having a striker like Lewandowski who has lived through Champions League finals, title deciders, and extreme pressure is an asset that transcends goals. He helps organize the team, mentors the youth, and serves as a reference point in difficult moments. This doesn't always show up in basic statistics, but it is felt on the pitch. A player in transition. When Lewandowski states that he feels no pressure to end his career and will be ready when his body gives the signs, he demonstrates something rare in elite football: serenity. This serenity is reflected in his game. In recent La Liga matches, even when Barcelona fluctuates, he remains a reliable piece. someone who rarely hides, continues to demand the ball, and takes on responsibility. The big question moving forward isn't whether Lewandowski is thinking about retirement. He is, as any conscious athlete should be. The real question is whether Barcelona knows how to capitalize on this final stage of the career of one of the greatest center-forwards in recent European history. Because as it stands, Lewandowski is not a player saying farewell, he is a player in transition, and there is a massive difference between the two. If the club can balance his physical workload, tactical context, and expectations, Lewandowski can still be extremely useful. Perhaps not as the sole offensive protagonist, but as a central piece in a more distributed attack. Looking at what he still produces in La Liga, ignoring this would be a sporting miscalculation. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Barcelona should renew Lewandowski's contract for another season, or is it time to turn the page? Let me know in the comments, because this debate is far from simple and even farther from a consensus.